Hello guys, welcome to our three-part series on how to answer O-level summaries. Now, I'm going to break this video into three. In the first video, we will talk about an overview of summary, like how the scores are tabulated, and we're going to look at how to analyze the different kinds of summary questions. In the next video, the second video, we will look at how to score full marks for your summary content. Okay, we'll look at a very useful strategy for selecting the right content so that you can score the full content marks. And in the last video, we will teach you how to paraphrase for O-level summary. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, now for your summary, there's a lot of questions on how summary scores are tabulated, how they count content, how they count language marks. Okay, let me get this straight for you guys. Summary takes up 15 marks in total. Now of these 15 marks, 8 goes to content, okay, and then 7 goes to language. One thing for you to note is that content is the part that you can confidently score full marks. So this is where you should aim for full marks. Whereas language, I would say to score full 7 is not easy. Most people are gonna hover between 3 to 6 marks. Okay. Now, having said that, I would suggest all of you to focus as much as possible on scoring the full 8 marks for content. Okay, with 8 marks, okay, even if you're scoring just like 3 to 4 for your language marks, let's say it's a 3, okay, you're still getting a comfortable 11 out of 15. Whereas, okay, if you're looking at say 4 marks, you still get 12 out of 15. Yeah, which is pretty decent, I would say. If you do feel like, okay, language is too important, you need to paraphrase, okay, the result is that you're gonna have to sacrifice a bit of content marks. Sometimes, okay, it does happen, but we'll get into that later in the third video on paraphrasing. But for today, okay, we'll look at the different types of summary questions that you are going to see and how to analyze them. So we will use one example from something that we've done in class. But what are the 3 different kinds of summary questions? You will see. Knowing the right type of summary question that you are dealing with makes it easier for you to find the correct points so that you don't lose marks picking up points that are not relevant. Now, the first type of summary questions are the benefits sort of summary questions. Now, anything that talks about benefits, advantages, typically require you to look at the positive points, right? And then the other kind of summary questions are what we call the disadvantages and challenges questions. We are often looking at very negative points. And the last kind of summary questions are what we call methods, ways questions. Okay. This looks at like the approach, the different ways, different means of performing something, of achieving something. So, why are we talking about the different types of summary questions? Okay, when you are given, let's say, a benefit sort of question, what you're supposed to do is to look for points that have words rather that have positive connotation. Anything that is positive, there's a very high chance that it's going to be a point. Similarly, when you are looking at the negative sort of questions, like the disadvantage challenges, go for words that have negative connotation. Let me give you some examples of positive and negative words. Positive words can be words like improve, help, caring. Okay, these are all positive words. Notice they can be verbs, they can also be adjective. Okay, in the first two we have verbs, in this one we have adjective. Okay, sometimes even noun, words like improvement. Whereas For the negative sort of questions, the disadvantage, problems, okay, I missed that out, problem sort of questions, you are looking at words that are negative in connotation. These could be words like harm, useless, or even the word like problems, crisis. You see, we do have verb, we have adjective, we also have noun. Now the part of speech doesn't matter as much when you're when we're discussing this, okay? What matters is the connotation of it. Like, does it bring up some negative feeling or positive feeling when you see the word? Now the third type of question is what we call the methods and ways questions. Okay, this one, the part of speech will matter a lot. Okay, when you're looking at methods, ways, for example, or even the word how, right? When you see the word how, okay, summarize how human beings got to the moon, how mankind got to the moon, you will need words that are predominantly verbs. This is when your part of speech is very, very important. You want to focus on verbs because they suggest, they indicate a way of doing something. Notice when I say do something, it's an action, and you know that verbs are also action words. So do, action. Now what are some of the words? They are verbs, okay? Things like implement, prevent, to design. All right, these are all verbs. So now in the next video, I'm going to tell you how to translate this knowledge, okay, to our point selection later on. But for this particular practice, let's have a look at how we can analyze more deeply one of these questions. Now this is a summary question. Using our words as far as possible, summarize the ways man abused and inflicted suffering on animals. So first thing I want to do is to pick out the keywords. The ways, look at this. This tells us the methods, probably, the ways. Man abused and inflicted suffering on animals. You notice that abuse and inflicted suffering, they are both negative in nature. Okay, the word suffering as well. Okay, on animals. This passage is about animals. So so throughout the passage, okay, is just about animals. So we don't really have to pay too much attention to this particular word here. But we know, okay, later on when we are selecting points, we are looking at things that are negative. That's super important. We're looking at words that are negative. The ways, the methods itself, okay, this word ways is a bit vague, so we're just gonna ignore the this. But if we do see verbs, okay, we might want to pay a bit of special attention to that. Okay, so stay tuned for the next video where we will talk about how to select points so that you can score a full 8 marks for your content. All right, okay, catch you later.